evening. Good to have you with us on the Monday night edition of the Urban Debate tonight. As we are in the midst of a lockdown, almost halfway done, let's look at some of those people who are letting us down during this lockdown period, who instead of leading us are actually shaming us during this lockdown period. And I'm talking about some of our politicians, political leaders, MLAs, elected representatives, party men, who instead of leading us in following these guidelines are actually disregarding the guidelines and violating the lockdown. I'm just going to give you a few examples. Example number one is what happened in Wardha in Maharashtra, where a BJP MLA was seen distributing food to a crowd on his birthday. Now he says he didn't call anybody, but people landed up at his place and there was a huge crowd outside on the occasion of his birthday. And as he distributed ration, obviously there was a crowd that wasn't following social distancing norms. Then comes another example from Balrampur in Uttar Pradesh, where a BJP Neta resorted to gunfire in the air. Now while you and I, viewers, were lighting up diyas last night with the lights switched off and candles and diyas everywhere, this BJP MLA thought it was all right to resort to celebratory firing. It was gun chalao instead of diya jalao for her. Again in Hyderabad, Raja Singh, another BJP MLA, was seen with supporters during the diya jalao event. But like all of us were in our own homes, standing in balconies and at our doorsteps, he was with a crowd holding mashal, completely forgetting the point of this entire exercise. Here's another example. This is Vikram Baduri. He is the nephew of a senior BJP leader, Ramesh Baduri, and he wanted to purify a quarantine center where the Markaz attendees had been kept. So he took Ganga Jal and started spraying it outside the quarantine center. Now this is not, in a sense, a lockdown violation, but I think this kind of stupidity really needs to come to a stop. This is not how our netas should be helping us. Here are some other examples. This one is from YSRCP. Mr. Jagan Mohan Rao, a YSRCP MLA, visited an Andhra village which has been designated as a red zone, like a contaminated zone. And he went around nicely, meeting people there, officials, villagers, interacting with them as if nothing was wrong, because obviously a photo op is more important than anything else. In Raiganj in West Bengal, where Devashri Chaudhary violating home quarantine rules and objecting to a quarantine notice at her house. In Uttar Pradesh's Nagina, Manoj Paras, an SP MLA, flouted norms while distributing ration to the locals. Again, you can see that, there's absolutely no regard for social distancing, keeping away from each other while this food is being distributed. So in some cases, the intent may be good, but how it is to be done is completely not being followed. And I have more examples from Congress now. In Bengaluru, Zamir Ahmed, a Congress MLA, on March 31st, organized a social distancing awareness camp and forgot to maintain social distancing at that very camp. On March 30th, again in Bilaspur, Shailesh Pandey, a Congress MLA, announced free ration, invited a huge crowd to his house. So when everybody was observing a lockdown, he had a huge crowd at his house because he wanted to score some brownie points by giving away free ration. This is not helping. This is not how we're going to beat coronavirus. Each and every one of us understands the importance of lockdown. Then why is it that this kind of stupidity, this actually still continues? That's the only question I want to ask tonight. And I'm going to say good evening to our panelists who are joining us. Shazia Ilmi, National Spokesperson for the BJP. Professor SAUGATA Roy, Member of Parliament for the Lok Sabha and a TMC member. Dr. Anand Bhan, he's a researcher with Global Health, Bioethics and Health Policy. KHUSHBOO Sundar, National Spokesperson for the Congress Party. And Atul Khatri, comedian, also joins us this evening, also a citizen of Mumbai. Let me start with Shazia first. Shazia, it's really disappointing actually that, and in such tough times and everybody is trying to do their own bit, those who are meant to lead us actually forget what the rules are.
Yes, Tanvi, I would like to say it straight away. No matter which party you're from, if you are an elected representative, be it an MLA or an MP, the least you can do is follow rules and lead by example. So some of the things that we've seen, it's extremely unfortunate how some of our MLAs and MPs have conducted themselves. There is no need to, outsmart someone else by being so unique that you end up doing something so foolish. So I think it has to be condemned. And I think people themselves must reject such displays of defiance and stupid defiance at that.
Yes, but Khushbu, perhaps we need to go beyond condemnation because we are risking other people's lives. This kind of stupidity is actually putting lives of people at risk. Even if your intention is to give them free food, even if your intention is to find out how people in your own constituency are doing, you cannot be doing it at the risk of their health. Now, I just want to understand, how does this happen? What goes on in the minds of these politicians that they completely disregard a national lockdown?
Tanvi, actually, all these people who you have mentioned here, and there are a few others who have not been mentioned, I think they all should be given, a crown of being the stupidest people on this planet. I think they do not understand what exactly we are talking about, what a lockdown is for, how we have to control this pandemic, how these people have not understood what COVID-19 is. They think it's like any other flu. So it's fine to mingle. Like you had one minister who had, from one of the parties. I'm not, because this is not about BJP Congress, BJP versus Congress. No, it's affecting the BJP, it's affecting the Congress, it's affecting every other common man in this country. So it's not this COVID-19 does not have any religion, does not have any community, does not look at people from higher or lower strata or the political parties. It just, so I'm not being, but I'm saying, people do not understand what COVID-19 is. They have not taken this, and they think it's fine to distribute food. Even you have a crowd, though we keep talking about social distancing, have at least 2.5 to 3 meters of gap between two people when you're meeting in public. Come out only if it's very, very important, very, very necessary. And you have seen that how people from different political parties in Telangana and Andhra Pradesh, they have continued to have their meetings and public meetings and meeting people and talking about the schemes and going out in public. So, it just shows that how they are clueless. They have not updated themselves. They have not studied what COVID-19 is about. They have not studied what Corona is about. And that is where the problem lies. Until you
Yeah.
do not understand what COVID-19 is, you do not protect yourself. You will not be able to protect the community, the world.
Okay, let me take that point and go across to Mr. Shazia Roy and ask him this question. Then whose responsibility is it, Mr. Roy, to teach their party men about what's right and what's not? I mean, if the entire country is expected to follow this, and we are following it, and if people who don't, the common man who violates the lockdown gets punished for it. There is action, there is an FIR file. People are on a daily basis being booked across the country, but not the netas. Is that fair now?
That is not fair. I think law should apply equally to everybody. And there is no necessity of people being coached differently in the matter. Every day the newspapers, the news channel, they are warning everybody as to what precautions ought to be taken. Everybody is talking about social distancing. If some people still don't realize the seriousness of it, is that entirely that individual's responsibility. Though I would concede this, that I am 73 years old, and in my life we had never any experience of a pandemic like this. So sometimes it seems a little unreal that we do not see any disaster, we do not see any storm, any cyclone, but still there is this danger lurking. So it takes some time to settle into people's minds. So it is through a constant campaign that this can be solved. And the more advanced countries in the world have made mistakes in this matter. I was just seeing a newspaper report that 430,000 people came to US from China since virus surfaced. Now, United States is the most developed country in the world. Now, it happened in their case. In our country,
No, I understand.
we have had migration of people
Mr.
from one
Shagatu
state to another.
as a policy, if we don't understand the
Yes.
Yes, but as a policy, if a nation and a government fails to understand the threats and dangers, is a different matter, and we discuss it, even more seriously and separately. But here a policy has been implemented. Here for over a month, we've been told now that to not attend mass gatherings. Here for over a month, we are being told to maintain distance from other people, isolate ourselves socially. Here for over 2 weeks now, we have been in a mode of lockdown. And so I'm asking this question, that why is it that the politicians themselves, who should actually be educating the common man and taking the message across the country, are the ones who don't understand the message?
Now, the problem is with politicians, they always feel that they should be in the public eye. Now, to observe the lockdown, you have to shut yourself up in your own house. Then you are out of the public eye. That is what irks people, and some people, hence, they react at any opportunity. Like the Prime Minister's call for a blackout and lighting candles yesterday. Many people took it as an opportunity to show themselves, to show that they are there to burst firecrackers and all that. Even the Prime Minister's, I do not think that the Prime Minister's announcement of a candle lighting during the blackout was well advised. So mistakes are being made. They should not be made, and the law should apply equally to all those who violate the lockdown and the principle of social distancing.
Okay, you said a very interesting point, and I'm going to take that because I think there is some merit to what you're saying, Mr. Roy. When you say that politicians are so used to being in the limelight, they are, and used to getting that attention, that perhaps they're struggling more with this lockdown than the common man is, because they're always, they're getting all this attention from people, from the media itself, and they want to use every possible opportunity. Atul Khatri, that sounds like a possible explanation, because I don't understand why else. And right now I'm not talking about violating the lockdown, but Atul, there are two instances. One of a BJP leader, Manju Tiwari, who thought the Diya Jalao campaign was actually Gun Chalao campaign, and she was, she resorted to celebratory fire. And there's another one of a Mr. Biduri of the BJP again in Delhi, who is sprinkling Ganga Jal standing outside a quarantine center because there are Markaz attendees inside that quarantine center. Now, this is simply stupidity, and I don't know how else you can explain this.
I think you're right. I think as a comedian, I'm missing the stage. So I think even as you said, the politicians are missing the crowds, the adulation which they usually get. And, but I think first of all, we should not call it social distancing any longer. We should call it very simple term as physical distancing. I think maybe they are not understanding what social distancing means. Let's call it a very simple word. In fact, the governor of California also said that let's call it physical distancing. Let's say it's 6 meters or whatever, 6 feet or 1.5 meter, whatever is the definition, we should say it very, very, I think that is very, very important. And I think as an example, all the party heads, because as we saw, it was not only one political party, a lot of political parties were, involved in this. I think the party heads should take serious action. If there's a law, let them get arrested, let them put some fine or some penalty for it, because it will come as a, a lesson for all of them, And as far as that BJP MLA shooting, that gun, I think maybe she didn't have a diya or candle, so she thought this is the easiest way to express her love and joy and this thing of unity. I don't know.
Well, the good part is that there I am given to understand that the party has taken action. And before I go to Dr. Bhan, Shazia, Ilmi, when it comes to celebratory firing or shooting the gun in the air, I'm told the MLA has now been suspended and there is action that has been initiated against her. But what about the others? What about the MLA who stood with a crowd of his followers or supporters, disregarding the social distancing norms and holding those mashals? What about the one who invited people to his house saying, I'll give you free ration, and completely forgot about social distancing? Don't you think perhaps leadership of parties need to set an example by saying, no, this is not okay and we are going to act against you, and maybe explain to them, like Atul Khatri says, this is physical distancing that you need to follow if social distancing is not a term people are understanding?
See, I can tell you about the BJP that almost on a daily basis, whether it's Nadda ji or Prime Minister or even the party heads, various state heads, they take regular video conferencing sessions with us. And a lot of us are doing social work. We are going out, but we're also being told that we have to keep this physical distance. So I know some people feel compelled to do things for others, but they should not violate the basic principle of social distancing or physical distancing, as you want to call it, and become a threat themselves, or make it conducive for coronavirus to prosper instead of it being the other way around. So I think that is something that needs to be told again and again. And whether it's the legislators or important people, we all have to learn. I mean, there is so much information. I don't know how much more awareness is even humanly possible. And I think this is what I was hinting at when I said earlier that everybody's wanting to outshine, and being politicians, they want to show they're doing something and make an event. I think they should resist the urge. It is not about you. It is about all of us. It
Yeah.
is not about a party. It is not about a religion. It is not about an individual. It is not about your personal glory of being a COVID warrior, but to ensure that all of us are together and doing the utmost we can do to prevent and to contain the virus. I think people will have to get over themselves a
Yes,
little
and
bit.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that one, and I think it's not just for politicians but many others as well. Now, while film stars don't have an option, or celebrities of any other kind don't have an option and will have to stay away from the limelight, or stand-up comedians don't have an option, they will have to do without an audience for a while. Politicians don't seem to get that, and there is nobody who is stopping them from going to their constituency or to the villages. In Andhra Pradesh, there was a leader who went into a red zone. Now, I don't know if anybody told him, but the word itself and the phrase itself is a red zone. That should have at least got some alarm bells ringing in his head, saying maybe I shouldn't go there and interact with people. I know at least in Mumbai, where there are sealed zones or premises or containment zones, nobody is allowed to go in and out. It's so difficult for people to even get their essential supplies. But sometimes leaders don't get it. Dr. Bhan, do you think we should have special classes? Because no amount of generic messaging is working. Maybe the medical fraternity can hold special classes for our politicians.
Thank you for having me. So, if anything, the limelight should actually be on that ticker which is running below our TV screens, which, as you highlighted, there are more than 4,000 cases, more than 100 deaths. I mean, we are on the eve of World Health Day. Tomorrow is World Health Day. And this is a public health crisis of great magnitude, like, the magnitude of which we have never seen in our lives. If we want to be successful, then we have to ensure that, if this lockdown has to work, then it has to be only through physical and social distancing. It cannot happen if we have these kinds of violation. Acts of solidarity are welcome, whether we are banging vessels or we are lighting diyas or we are lighting torches. These are supposed to be acts of solidarity to show that we are in this, all of us together. But they cannot be excuses for violating social distancing or physical distancing norms. And there is a big role for leadership right now. I mean, if these leaders, whether those be MPs or MLAs, want to show leadership, then they can show leadership by putting out messaging, by supporting public health messages which are going out, by actually, speaking to their constituents, maybe by the phone or using social media and supporting them. There are many who are negatively impacted by the lockdown, many who are economically vulnerable, socially vulnerable. ensuring that food supply reaches them, ensuring that supplies are available to them when they most need it in a way which is safe to do it, is a way that they can show leadership. It's not by organizing these events where you could actually be putting more people at risk. So leadership is important, but the way they are demonstrating it is extremely poor and shows that they have probably not understood that we are all at risk, and they are risking themselves, they are risking those other party workers who are standing besides them, and they're risking the families of both themselves as well as these individuals who were with them. And it shows just a disregard completely for the important role that the leadership they need to show has at this point of time. If they show these kinds of acts, then other people will be dismissive of the need to follow any kinds of norms which are put out. So I think it is unfortunate, and hopefully they will learn. And if not, then yes, they might need some classes from medical and public health professionals.
Yeah, because tonight, and all of us agree that this is unfortunate. I'm looking for some solutions. How to stop this? I'm going to take our viewers back and our panelists back a couple of weeks ago. Now, at that point of time, we had sitting chief ministers brazenly violating these norms. We had one chief minister who went and attended a wedding with 2,000 people present there at a time when in his own state, they had barred mass gatherings, they had barred parties and clubbings, and clubs in the big cities. But he disregarded that. We had another chief minister who was actually taking on the election commission in a neighboring state, saying, no, let's hold elections right now. Why should we not hold municipal body elections right now? This is all a big conspiracy. Now, while we've come a long way from that, and at least sitting chief ministers are not resorting to such issues, we had a big scare where the parliament almost got quarantined, and the Rashtrapati Bhavan almost went into a quarantine isolation because ministers and politicians did not listen to their own warning, and they went ahead and they partied, and they went ahead and attended dinner parties and social gatherings and house parties where they interacted with people, and one of them then tested positive. This was a singer who had tested positive, and a series of ministers, Mr. SAUGATA Roy, and politicians and MPs actually had to go in a lockdown and go into isolation because of that. I'm sure you remember that. Now, after that parliament scare, Mr. Roy, wouldn't we think that at least some leaders have learned their lesson? If not, then what is the solution? How do we ensure that our politicians are leading from the front?
No, people are learning their lessons. The media is doing a wonderful job about it. Every day we have doctors speaking on the electronic media about the various problems. But may I humbly submit 2 points that our doctors do not know much about the virus, because COVID-19 is not a known thing. And as it is, we have lectures of doctors from various disciplines, but there are not so many epidemiologists in the country. They are the only people who know the thing. I find cardiothoracic surgeons and orthopedic surgeons lecturing on COVID-19. It's not such a simple thing. I just saw a news in the newspaper today. This says 39 NRS junior doctors sent to quarantine. Even doctors are not observing the rules. In Bombay, one Workhat hospital, it has been closed down. So the consciousness even among the medical community is lacking. And there is also the problem that personal protective equipment is not available to the extent possible. This is one side of the matter. The other thing I want to mention on this show is that in our country also, politicians were not aware of the danger, if I may say so with responsibility. On 16th of March, I met the Prime Minister personally in Parliament and told him that we should immediately adjourn the Parliament and let MPs go back to their constituencies. At that time, maybe he hadn't realized the gravity of the city. He said MPs want a holiday just like schoolboys want a holiday. The same adjournment was delayed and it happened 1 week later. We had lost a valuable week in which MPs mixed. And as you have mentioned, there's one MP who with his mother attended a party along with the UP health minister, party in honor of a singer who had tested corona positive. So these sort of irresponsible actions have taken place. And the other thing, the other problem that is there is that we talk of propagating through the social media. Our problem, I feel, totally stymied in my work because I'm not being able to reach my constituents. Social media does reach only 20% of them. Unless I personally go and explain to them, how will they realize? And we, in our country, social media still has to reach out to a lot of people. So we have these problems. But with that, I think ever since lockdown started, we have improved. There's been mistakes by the political leaders, by the medical community as such, but still social distancing, physical distancing is also taking place. But the government at the center should have thought of the attending problems when they planned the lockdown. You see this lakhs of migrant workers who went by bus in crowded bus from Delhi. Many of them walked on the roads to reach their places. This the government should have taken care of earlier. But now that all that is settled, I think we should take the strictest possible action against anybody who violates the lockdown principles intentionally or unintentionally. Now the time has come in the last week of the lockdown. We must take strong, stiff and immediate
including
action.
netas. Yes, and including netas.
Very much including
because I think
netas.
the
When I'm
action has
saying
to begin from there.
including netas, it will be exemplary.
If
If you take steps against the netas,
3
then it will
weeks
be
later,
exemplary.
if they
The
don't
message
learn,
will go through. They don't learn,
absolutely.
then
But I
it's
disagree
time
with
to
you,
take
Mr.
action
Roy,
to
and
them. Time to send
on one
them to
aspect
jail.
and the point that you raised, and I don't think it's fair for us to blame the healthcare community and say they are being ignorant about it, because, and you mentioned a couple of examples, including a Mumbai example. We have to keep in mind that these are our frontline warriors who don't have a choice. They can't say that I don't have the necessary safety equipment. I don't know if I'm, checking a normal patient or a COVID patient, and so I am not going to see any patients. They have to make do with what they have. And if they come across somebody who at that point of time didn't know that person had corona and later on find out, there is a possibility that they get infected. I don't think we can accuse them, Dr. Bhan, of not following the norms or not knowing the norms and the rules. That's more of a case of us perhaps not having enough safety equipment, isn't it? Dr. Bhan?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Tanvi. I was going to raise that issue as well. I think, it's very unfair to blame health professionals for doing their duty. I mean, they are risking their personal safety and probably the well-being of themselves and their family members by stepping forward and defending against what largely is a political and policy failure. Why do I call it a political and policy failure? Because of the kinds of acts that we are seeing. Where there have been violations of this kind which are actually leading to maybe a spread of cases. Two, there is an acute shortage of quality personal protective equipment, and the health professionals could just say, no, I'm not going to duty, I'm not going to go and see patients or serve patients. But no, that's not what they have said. What they have said is, even if it means risking my own well-being and safety, I'm going to go out and make sure that I do patient service. I go and see patients. I provide services to patients, and that is at the cost of the kind of outcome we have seen today, where there is a hospital with many cases among the health professionals there. So the best way we can actually help our health professionals defend against the spread of COVID-19 is to ensure that one, we maintain physical distancing, we follow the lockdown norms, and also by ensuring that they have the right equipment available. And both of these require our politicians to step up and make sure that they make those provisions and that they ensure adherence. If you are not going to do it, then we are going to see more and more health professionals also fall ill due to COVID-19, and that will deplete our health professional workforce which is available, and we are going to be in much more dire straits than we are today.
Okay, so again, I will come back to the question on what further can be done. Khushbu, do you have any other suggestions on how do we stop this kind of stupidity?
I think, certain politicians, they think it's for a rebel with no cause and high-handed attitude, behavior at the forefront, and say that it's fine to break the rules because we are the rule makers. So we are the lawmakers. So it's fine to break the law. So that kind of an attitude needs to stop. Again and again, we need to stress on the point, make people aware, whether they're politicians or non-politicians or common men. I think we have to make them aware as to how we can prevent this COVID-19 from spreading further. It is not completely airborne, it's through the touch. So you have to keep your hands clean. You have to tell them that this virus is of oily substance which sticks to your hands, sticks to the substance, sticks to the floor, sticks to the glass, steel, whatever you hold on. So you have to tell them that before touching anything at home, wash your hands. That is a most important thing. And wear a mask. You don't need a mask. Take a dupatta, wear it. Take a cloth, wear it. Take a normal wet cloth. Take it. Anything, whatever the hanky, whatever you have. Make a mask and wear it. If somebody is coughing, if somebody has a little running nose, go for a test. Yes, we do not have enough of equipments for testing, but you can definitely go and self-isolation, quarantine yourself from the rest of the people, even if it's mild cold. If you think you have a mild cough, mild cold, just stay away from the other members, because this COVID-19 takes at least 2 weeks to show up in your test. So please self-isolate yourself, move away. It's not so tough. You had Nelson Mandela, who was self-isolated for 27 years, and yet he came out as one of the best human beings of this world, of this universe. So I think we need to understand that to save the people, to save the country, to save your loved ones, if not others, you have to take care of yourself. We need to drill this in people's mind. Stay away from crowd. Do not, whether you're
Yes.
lighting a diya
No, but
or whether it's Pali or Tali, please do not
yes.
gather in crowd. It's so disappointing to see that even the educated clan clamped together completely, and they are tali vajaying and bursting crackers and lighting the diyas and in a group. I said the whole idea is to maintain a distance. And that is the main fundamental thing which everyone seems to forget. Please maintain a distance. You need to put that in their minds. And I really would like to request
So
the
here
Prime
is how I
Minister.
see it. I agree with you. And no, but Khushbu, we have been saying it ad nauseum, and I will use that phrase, even though we are not going to stop from giving this information on a daily basis. But now for over a month ad nauseum, we've been repeating all of these guidelines, all of these safety measures and precautions that everybody should be taking. Clearly, we are not getting through everybody. Now, here is how I would see it work. I would say that the Prime Minister takes a lead on it, and he has. Then the government follows up with a series of steps, and they have. And then the individual parties and politicians, elected representatives, MPs and MLAs, and party office holders, and then the next rung of party men and cadre, they are informed and they are explained. And then these people go to their own places and spread the message, while knowing what precautions to take. Now, I am trying to understand why that's not happening. Media can speak about it every day, and we do. Newspapers are printing it every day. Television channels are talking about it every day. You spoke about covering your mouth. Tonight I have a panel later on this show who's going to teach us how to make our own mask. That's what we are doing. I want to understand what is the Congress party doing. How many classes have been arranged virtually, digitally, or otherwise for your own party members?
We have been talking, like Shazia said, even we have a community, we have formed a group, and we keep discussing on this. We keep speaking to each other, and we have people telling us how to make masks, how to spread the message on video conference every morning. We do that. But apart from that, that's the least we can do. I think people who take the message from the parliament, from the prime minister, the lawmakers, they cannot break the rule. They have to understand that you are the lawmaker. You cannot break the rule. A common man, you have the cops down the street, somebody going on the streets. You have the cops beating them up, lathi charge. Why are these lawmakers let go? Whether it is from BJP, whether it's Congress, whether it is CPM, whether it is YSR, whether it is any other party, why are they let go? You have even a Samajwadi Party member. I'm saying this is ridiculous. You have to take an action against them. Just suspending one person will not be enough. Just having Section 188 against Shailesh Yadav in Chhattisgarh is not going to be enough. I think we need strong action against them. They have to come out and say sorry. They have to, because if they break the rules, they have to come and say sorry. They have to apologize to the entire community, to the entire country, and apologize for what they have done, which we let them go scot-free. That is not. They have to be brought to the book, and they have to take it up. The head party members have to take it up, and you tell them that they have to apologize. Come on air, so apologize. Give a written letter to their own people in the community where they have done this, where they've broken the laws. We don't do that. We just let them go. They go scot free. That's a problem.
Okay, Mr. Atul Khatri, if I can come to you, if you have any other ideas, do you think maybe we should get a few of the artists and stand-up comics could get together to come up with innovative ways of getting this message across, especially for our netas, let alone everybody else? Hopefully they will be watching news just for the political cloth.
No, I really don't think so, because I don't think most of politicians listen to stand-up comedians. But what I believe is that, I think one thing which is very clear, I've got two sort of solutions to it. First of all, we have seen it in the past that people listen to Modi ji. When it was a call for 5 o'clock, that banking on thali, or 9 o'clock, 9 minutes, diya. I think Modi ji should come just very, very in a strict voice, tell the people, just sit at home. He has said it before, but very, very strict. Second solution or second sort of thing which I have is, other than the sticker down which shows the number of deaths, I saw it on a European television, where every evening they used to show a priest coming and blessing all the graves in Italy, which was, it's very much like the cigarette warning. I know it may not help, but I know it's a little dark, but, there was a priest coming and just, spraying holy water on those, very, very heart-wrenching picture of spraying holy water on those graves, I'm talking about hundreds of graves. I don't know, maybe they should play it every day. People should realize this is not a joke. This is very, very serious. I think it's time that, because you have to also understand, forget the politicians, there is a lot of uneducated class, people who are probably, struggling every day for their daily food. And they see some free food being, doled out by some politician. Poor guys, they'll run for it. Even if one of them has to sacrifice his life for the rest, 5 of them, they will do it. So I think it's very, very clear message, because I think now at least the lockdown has started. Now it's a very, very clear directive that we should implement this and see that people don't step out of their houses. Only the health workers and essential service should head out.
Okay, Shazia, do you think another strict message from Prime Minister Modi will hopefully do the job? I know you said for your own party there have been constant, messaging that's gone from the top leadership, but honestly, in the list that I have today, there are still far too many BJP names.
No, I don't think it's about BJP or Congress. I think there are people within every party, within every family, within every neighborhood, within every city who would be the culprits, who would be the usual suspects. So we have to take it out
Yeah.
of the whole this thing of politics and parties. But I would like to say that this is also an important time when we express gratitude. I mean, somebody was talking about the cops. You see the state police and central police and wherever they are, the kind of great work they're doing. Look at the value that I have today for my Safai Wali. The value I have for the newspaper person who throws the newspaper at my house, I mean, who delivers it every day, for the sabzi wala. I think there have to be messages for all of them. We need to raise the collective consciousness as people, our standards of hygiene. So I think messages should not be just about social distancing, but who we are as a people, what respect we have for ourselves, for each other, and for those who provide basic care, essential services to us. I think that's very important. We have been so feudal. We take things for granted. We have no respect for those who work for us, those who sweep and clean and serve. So I think there has to be much more respect. With folded hands, we should be grateful to those who are working right now while we are, well, passing time somewhere, somehow or the other. And I think the medical care, I mean, whether the nurses or the staffers, they've done a great job. They're like really angels who've come to our rescue. So let's not just be very negative about it. All I'm saying is mistakes have been made. They should learn. I'm sure the politicians also, they meant well. So let's not let the negativity and this doomsday spirit take over. Let's deal with it with humor, with positivity, with wholesomeness.
No, there is no doomsday spirit.
And with a lot of gratitude. And gratitude that
yes, there is
that
no
most of us are
negativity
fine.
in the sense that which is why nobody is yelling here or shouting or blaming each other here. But I still think this is extremely serious, and we can't just pass it off with, oh, their intentions were good, so let's let it be. I think action has to be taken. There is no other way. Action should be taken against these violators, even if they're elected representatives or party office holders or anybody who's linked to a party. It doesn't matter, because your intention may be great to say, oh, I'm going to go there and give them some free rice or free wheat. But if in the process of it, you end up getting 10 people or 100 people infected, then it's not worth it. It's not worth it at all, because every single case matters right now. We're all sacrificing a lot by shutting ourselves and locking ourselves down. And while people do need the food, there are always ways of doing it in an organized way. There are always ways of doing it in a in a way that all precautions are maintained and still help reaches to the people who need it. In fact, I had a viewer who had called us, but we lost that line. Noor Ahmed was on the phone line from Mumbai, and I'm just going to put out the message that Noor Ahmed wanted to tell us, I'm given to understand. The suggestion was that you should seek permission, even if you're an elected representative, to go there and distribute food. So it doesn't matter if you're an MP and you can fly from one place to the other in your own plane or travel in your own car from one place to the other and start giving free food. You still need to take permission. And if you don't follow the norms, then you will be booked like the rest of us. Because that is how we can win this battle, when each and every single person follows the norms. I mean, and for the rest of the examples that we had, I guess there is no excuse for stupidity. That's how it is. Covidkoofs exist everywhere. We just have to ensure that they don't lead us to a setback in this battle. I'm going to thank all of our guests tonight. Thank you so much for joining us on this special conversation. Before I wrap up, here is a special request to Mr. J.P. Nadda, to Sonia and Rahul Gandhi, to Mamata Banerjee, Jagan Mohan Reddy, Akhilesh Yadav. Here is a request to Mr. Sharad Pawar, to Stalin, to Mr. K.C. Rao, and every other top politician and party leader that we have in our country. Please, before you lecture us, before you implement your ideas and policies, go ahead and teach your own people what has to be done. If they don't understand the term social distancing, explain it to them in a language that they will understand, whatever that be. But do not risk our battle. Do not derail our battle because of ignorance, because somebody wants limelight, because somebody wants attention or a photo opportunity. It's just not worth it. Thank you for joining us on this conversation. Welcome back. Well, here's a very interesting story that we've got for you. In Punjabi Bagh area of Delhi, the government is now experimenting with a drive-through testing facility where anybody who gets an appointment for a COVID test can actually drive in their own car there, get tested while they're in the car, and then drive away. Here is a report that Prashant got for us.
India's first drive-through corona testing lab has been set up here in the national capital at a time when the number of cases are exponentially rising with every passing day. This sort of testing lab is something that many believe is going to help the government in testing more patients, because testing more patients is something that is the need of the hour. You can see I'm standing in Punjabi Bagh right now, and Dr. Dang's lab has started this, in which anyone who registers for a test here will be driving here at this particular location. It's a drive-through, a proper drive-through that has been made here. The car stops, the tests are done all with patients sitting inside, the suspect sitting inside. The samples are collected, it's sent to the lab for further testing, and that's exactly how the procedure is followed right here. Now you can see this car has been brought here, it has a suspect inside it. These are the people who have been deployed here to ensure the test is done. The collection process is on, the swabs are being collected, and this will be sent to people, to the testing labs for further testing, and after 3 days the result will be given. Now, if you talk about the people who are behind it, they say that this is being done to not only help the people but also the government to more aggressively test the patients, because testing is something that is the need of the hour, and that's exactly why Dr. Dang's lab has come up with this.